stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dawes. Hey!
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
You never know what you're going to think about at a college baseball game, ladies. Yeah. Last night, JU played host to Florida. JU led early 2-0 without even getting a hit as the Florida starting pitcher struggled a little bit, Billy Barlow. He walked two and then hit a batter, so that's uncomfortable when it was a bit chilly there along the banks of the St. Johns River.
Way to rebound, though, then.
But yeah, and then Florida got hot, and part of that, I'm glad you mentioned that, Taylor, part of that is because they have a JU transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Nadeau, who went 3 for 3 at the plate, is already having a great season. He's 6 for 7 at the plate. And that's something that certainly Kevin O'Sullivan focused heavily on in this offseason is he didn't want just guys that could hit for power. He wanted to be able to manufacture runs in other ways. And Nadeau is one of those guys that's going to be able to get on base. And that's huge, right? You can't just rely on the home run hitters because you don't always hit home runs. A lot of times you strike out. And so, yeah, that's been certainly something they've focused on. Also, they've already stolen 16 bases in 4 games.
Wow.
They stole 43 in all of last season. So those are two things. And Kevin O'Sullivan joined Frank and Hayes on the Frangie Show yesterday. So if you love Gator baseball and you missed that, make sure you go on demand and check that out. But I say all this to say, so Justin Nadeau went to Bartram Trail, recruited by Chris Hayes, developed by Chris Hayes, the coach at JU. Kevin O'Sullivan signs him as one of the first guys in the portal this past year. Florida's so loaded, he's not even able to start, really, for Florida at least every night. But he comes back to John Sessions Stadium and has this incredible night. Florida goes on to win 10-4. So I feel for Chris Hayes, and nothing against Nadeau. He's doing what you're supposed to do if you want to elevate your game. Not supposed to do, but if
what this world is now.
If you desire to play at a higher level of baseball, and granted, JU and Ace on baseball is terrific. Same with UNF. But obviously, Power 4 baseball is something that you're going to get noticed a little bit more. And so if you have certainly more money coming your way, and it's Florida, and they got close to a national championship last year, all those things, like I can understand why Justin left. And so again, this is nothing against him. But I'm sitting there feeling for Chris Hayes and how he's the one who recruited him out of Bartram Trail. He's the one who's developed him for 2 years. And Justin was playing alongside another guy who went to Bartram Trail and Blake Delamador, who's still at JU. And you have to go tell your coach that you're leaving and all these things, right? So I'm thinking about all this last night during the game. And it occurred to me this morning that I think I could fix the transfer portal or at least help.
I did not think that's where this conversation was going.
I think I can at least help the transfer portal. So as y'all know, when Juwan Taylor was drafted by the Jaguars, he reached free agency. The Jaguars could not reach a second contract with Juwan Taylor. So what happened? He goes to the Chiefs. And then what do the Jaguars get?
They got a comp pick for him.
That's the solution.
Oh, wow.
JU in this example would get, and comp pick is not the exact same thing because it's not a draft. But they should get something. So whether it's money, probably money.
What is the compensation?
I think it should be, and that's what I haven't come up with exactly yet.
Okay, we're workshopping here, so that's why we have the text line. Like lifetime enclosures.
They should get, let's say, if the NIL deal for Nadeau is $200,000, JU gets 20% of that.
So let's pair.
To at least help then put more NIL money towards their own program.
So let's pair that with a tease. At 1 o'clock, Stuart Mandel of The Athletic is going to join us. We heard from Matt Hayes, our very own, during the handoff yesterday about the impending revenue sharing that is coming to the NCAA. And my question is, Lauren, if we already have a situation where the NCAA is looking to expand postseason fields because they need more media rights money, because they need to put more money in their coffers because the current money now is going to have to go to the players, where are we coming up with those funds?
Well, Florida in this instance would have to be paying JU, for instance. Again,
so Florida would take from their money.
If someone enters the portal, gets money out of NIL to go to enter the portal and go to a different school, you're saying that portion of the NIL from Florida would go to whatever school they
I think
take
some
them
portion,
from.
should have to go because you are rewarding the school and the head coach that spent a lot of time with this 18-year-old,
who
18-year-old.
recruited and developed the beginning of his career in college.
Right now, we're almost rewarding schools who just pluck guys out of the transfer portal instead of getting these younger guys straight out of high school. Because right now, a lot of high school players are not able to go pursue their dreams where they want to start because they're just getting guys out of the transfer portal.
Correct. They cannot go right to the Power Fours. And so I go back to what Matthew Driscoll, the head basketball coach at UNF, said at his media day press conference back in October. We are no longer building teams for 4 years, which is a stark departure for Matthew in particular and how he built those championship teams of 2015 and 2020, because those were guys, yes, there were a couple of transfers to be certain, Garrett Sams most notably, but those were teams that he recruited a 4-5 man recruiting class out of high school. They took their lumps the first 2 years, and then by their junior year, they were competing for the ASUN title. And he admitted back in October, that's not the way this works anymore. We are trying to build the best team we can on a one-year basis, and we also are accepting that we are going to be the best in our conference, in the mid-major, so to speak, because, yes, most likely our best players, and this is across all sports, are going to be plucked by those Power Four teams. And that's why, Lauren, and it's a great point, because I know
Tennessee should have to pay UNF for Chaz
Lanier. Although he was a grad transfer, so that's, I think, a little bit more traditional, and he did get his degree from UNF. Denny Thompson has been very vocal about this, the quarterback whisperer, when he's come on the air. He has so many high school quarterbacks who, in a more traditional, quote-unquote, world, would have those offers from Power Fours, and they'd have to sit the bench for 2-3 years, but then they would actually get a chance to play.
Yeah.
And now they're faced with, hey, maybe I go to a Western Kentucky, a Jacksonville State, and I sit for a year, then I start for a year, and then I actually get to go to the Power Four. And unfortunately, the system is so broken that that's why the Western Kentuckys, Jacksonville States, UNF, JU baseball, they have to now approach their sport and their schedule as we're just going to be the best in our little world.
And
it stinks because at the same time, you're expanding the NCAA tournament and dangling the carrot and saying that everybody has a chance at the national title.
And the 1 year isn't helping someone's long-term growth and development either. If their coach is only focused on them for one season as well.
Yeah, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but my brother was one of the assistant coaches at Western Kentucky, and when NIL and everything really first started getting to the beginning levels of things. And so we were having a conversation about that, and I asked about NIL, and he told me NIL doesn't bother him as much as the way the transfer portal has become bothers him. And the reason he said that is because of reasons like this. They, at Western Kentucky, are going to these tiny Kentucky schools and, the surrounding states where there's nobody, finding these guys, recruiting these guys.
Pouring into them.
Yes, developing them for that first year or two. And then one of these big schools come and just pluck them away. And to your point, Lauren, they're not getting any benefit out of that. And honestly, coaches have been fired because they're like, oh, well, you haven't had winning seasons. Well, maybe because Kentucky's coming and stealing all of the guys that I've recruited and developed, and they're getting.
So then that hurts the people the coaches that have put their blood, sweat, and tears into these guys, and then immediately they leave, and then they're not as successful.
And then you have to watch them go 3 for 3 on your own
That's
field.
What I'm telling you, that had to be such a surreal feeling for both parties. And again, I don't blame Justin and his family for that decision
not at all.
It's just the world now.
Yeah. But it is unfortunate if you're Justin, if you thought you were going to be a starter at Florida, and then they continue to add so much talent and you're not able to start. And so then, you have to wonder, did you make the right decision? Should you have stayed at JU and been a starter? And that's obviously where you're from, because like I said, he went to Bartram Trail. There's so much going on, but it all of a sudden popped in my head today that maybe a comp pick would help. Something like a comp pick would help this.
We did open the text line, Designed by Lifetime Enclosures. We have some great conversation going. It's actually very productive. A lot of people really love your idea, Lauren. Of course, 904-641-1010 is the number to reach us at. You also can leave a comment in the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line on YouTube. This is from Charles. He says, great idea. We can call it a finder's or development fee or a dev comp developer compensation.
Yeah.
This was a good one from 470. What about the football player that doesn't pan out at Florida and transfers to James Madison, so goes from the Power Fours to a quote-unquote mid-major? Do you make James Madison then pay Florida for that player? Because presumably they would be offering some form of an NIL compensation.
I wouldn't, because I think if you're going from the lower level or the higher level to the lower level, then in my mind, you wouldn't have to pay.
2 things. Number one, Kevin Carter on Twitter also said, call it a transfer fee. So everyone in the same mindset of that. do JUCO schools, the players going from a JUCO to other schools, do the JUCO schools get anything? Because I feel like in the same sense, like you are getting guys who a lot of times when it's academics or whatever may be going on, there's a lot of factors into. And so when it's a successful student athlete coming out of that, a lot of times it's crazy stories of things that these kids have gone through, and then you see them getting drafted a few years later, and this JUCO start was the school was the one that gave them the chance to even be able to play football outside of high school.
Well, now their eligibility is not counting when they're at the JUCO.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's
the benefit.
win-win
That's the benefit
both
for the
sides,
student,
right?
but I'm saying the school.
Sure. Yeah. It's messy. And I'm obviously not really fixing the issue. The issue is that it should be
Let's have a meeting
one-time-
this week.
It should be a one-time transfer like it used to be, in my opinion, unless you graduate. And then that way coaches are not having to constantly recruit their own roster, because that is ridiculous. They already have enough going on.
By the way, are we on the final COVID? Are we final
this is
COVID year?
We're in the end. This is the final of finals.
But
So
the
more
good
10
news
years.
the good news is we talked about this yesterday with Miranda as far as Tiger playing at the Players. His eligibility had run out because he had won the 2019 Masters. However, the PGA Tour looked at what the NCAA has recently done and said, actually, we're going to give you a COVID year. So Tiger Woods is eligible to play at this year's Players
what a
if
world.
he so desires. Hey,
Look
the
at that.
NCAA did something right.
I love it. Anecdotally, just to put a bow on this great discussion topic to begin today's program.
Thank you.
When I was in high school, and I think I've shared this before, the rule in New Jersey was if you transferred from a private school to a public school, or vice versa for that matter, you had to sit for 60 days. And
we used to have that here too.
Right.
But I thought it used to be a whole year.
I want to say it was a year.
was a whole
too,
year.
because
Because
my
we
brother
had-
had to sit a year.
we had a situation where a player, one of my friends, she transferred during basketball season. And because she had not earned a varsity letter at Red Bank Catholic, she was immediately eligible for basketball literally the next day at Freehold Township High School. But because she had earned a varsity letter in soccer, she then had to sit 60 days in the fall because of that private to public transfer. And that's what I go back to, even if you're transferring from public school to public school, that's the only way in high school and college that we're ever going to actually be able to fit the toothpaste back into the tube. If there is some sort of penalty of some kind, and it's not complete open season. But on the other flip side of that, as I know someone else noted on the text line, at this point in time, it's free agency in college. So embrace it. Let them sign contracts and free player movement for all.
If they were to sign contracts that would have stipulations on NAL and promise them to stay at the school that they sign up to go to in the transfer portal, that would be fine by me. Again,
if when you
it's
go to that
supposed
school, you're like, here's your 2-year contract. You have to at least pay 2 years at the school. Here's your contract. After that, we can decide what we want to do, because that's what the NFL does. It's not like the player decides, I'm done. Like, I don't really want to.
It's supposed to be about earning a degree. And I know that is a foregone thing.
What?
Right. But you've got to spend at least 3 years somewhere to get that degree and settle in. And so, anyway, it
All
was
these
a,
kids
get your AA
it was a really
into-
fun baseball game last night. We had a blast. JU did a great job as far as the ticketing, the concessions, and all that stuff. Brought a blanket so that way I was not freezing cold. There was a girl behind me in only a tank top and jeans. I was worried for her. But yeah, hearing that ping, by the way, you get to hear it on Friday, Taylor. Bobby Bowser for Florida hit a 3-run home run, and that's how Florida took the lead 3-2. The moment you heard the ball hit that metal bat, that ping, everyone knew it was out. Good, obviously, for the Florida fans, not as good for the Jacksonville University fans. But if you have a chance, get out to a college baseball game in the near future, whether it's JU or UNF. And by the way, Florida was supposed to play host to A&M tonight at 6:30, but because of the weather, that game has now been rescheduled. That'll be Wednesday, March 19th at 6:30 in Gainesville. All right, Mia's going to try to make you some money on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
1010XL is your home for Jacksonville University basketball.
It's Jacksonville's biggest intercity rivalry, JU-UNF in the River City Rumble. Tomorrow night at 8 on 1010 a.m.
Mia O'Brien here for Pro Jacks Roofing. Here on the Sports Superstation, we talk a lot about pros. Pro football, pro baseball, pro basketball, pro sports. But if you want a true pro when it comes to your roof, you should call Mike with Pro Jacks Roofing. Mike has been in the roofing business for well over 25 years. And when you call, you don't get a recording. You get Mike himself. Find Mike's cell phone number on projacksroofingfl.com. That's projacksroofingfl.com. Don't rely on the third string. Call in the starter with Mike at Pro Jacks Roofing.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Looking for comfort with who you work with? Remember, Florida Home AC only hires the best. Background checks and drug screenings for all their technicians, so you can be confident when you choose Florida Home AC. Exceptional service is their guarantee at Florida Home AC.
I'm Tyler Oldenburg, the tournament chairman for the 2025 players. We're proud to partner with Golf Fights Cancer to inspire and empower golfers to make a difference in the fight against cancer. It's only 20 days until the Players' Championship.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
Ackerman Urology offers the most advanced options for improving men's health and vitality. Their board-certified urologists treat all prostate disease and sexual health issues. Call their new location at World Golf Village or visit AckermanUrology.com.
Good teachers and coaches get the most out of their scholar athletes. That's why 1010XL salutes the Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
And the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234.
Wednesdays on The Frangie Show.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood Jewelers. Clayton, I've heard you talk about the quality philosophy of Underwood's. Just what is that?
Frank, simply stated, the Underwood quality philosophy is fine jewelry and gifts will bring customers back and create new customers through the endorsements given to Underwood's by our satisfied customers. However, it's our definition of quality that's really been the Underwood difference, because quality has to go beyond materials and craftsmanship and has to include things like design, how it's presented, our service, our integrity, a customer's experience in our store, and the satisfaction a customer feels when they've chosen a special gift from Underwood's. A person or a company earns a reputation over a long period of time. And in Underwood's, we know that you earn your reputation every day, because that good reputation can be lost in a matter of days if you're not committed to doing the right thing for the long term.
That's Underwood, serving excellence in North Florida since 1928 in San Marco, Avondale, or the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror, fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
craft beers, food trucks, live music, and more beer at the Riverside Craft Beer Festival this Sunday afternoon at Riverside Arts Market. Get your tickets at riversidecraftbeerfestival.com. Proceeds benefit Community Peace Care and the Rotary Foundation.
You survived the cold, and it's time to heat up your spring with a cigar tasting of Perdomo cigars. Join Tobacco Cove Saturday, February 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. for a tasting extravaganza featuring Perdomo cigars rolled in Nicaragua. Food, drinks, and specials on cigars. This is your chance to experience the quality and value Perdomo offers. Tobacco Cove on Bay Meadows Road. More than a cigar store, it's an experience.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. ET here with 1010XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to, and it should be yours too. Online at kuhnflowers.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. By the way, one other thing I wanted to mention last night about that game. The JU Ballpark, John Sessions Stadium, is so big that it's fun to watch the outfielders able to rob home runs. That part is really cool. Colby Shelton and Brendan Lawson both hit what we thought maybe would go out, but obviously with the wind blowing too, it didn't. I mentioned Bobby Bowser had a home run, and Brody Donay, 4th home run in how many games have they played? 4.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Not that we won't circle back to the Florida Gators basketball team's victory last night, because we certainly will,
We're going to make
Lauren.
this whole day about the University of Florida.
But I do want to ask you, and I'll ask this of the listeners too, who perhaps weren't listening to the drill this morning. Dan Hicken made his Dream Finders Homes poll question of the four options.
Right.
If you're a Gator fan, if I could tell you, you could win a national title in men's basketball, make the college football playoff, a national championship in baseball and softball, both of them. He's guaranteeing you a national title in both, or DJ Lagway wins the Heisman. And I was really fascinated. Now, the numbers have changed a little bit as more votes have come in, Lauren. I was very surprised that there was I think 8% or less than that for baseball. More people wanted DJ Lagway to win the Heisman. And there were, interestingly enough, in that same vein.
We're in the South. They care about football.
But in that same vein, with 49% of the vote, and it was leading with over 50%, the national title in men's basketball has been the runaway favorite. And so I just thought it was very interesting.
It is hard. I think a lot of people didn't probably think all the way through it. He's guaranteeing you 2 national championships if it's baseball and softball. And that's exciting. But a lot of people don't care as much about those sports.
Yeah.
If you're asking my dad, he would pick the baseball softball because he gets the 2 national championships. I would probably take and I voted for the men's basketball because Florida hasn't won a men's basketball title since 2007. Florida won the baseball title in 2017. And Florida has been to Omaha more times under Kevin O'Sullivan than not. So I have confidence that Florida could get back to the baseball national championship, winning a baseball national championship, and certainly getting back to Omaha. Men's basketball, as we all know, it's not necessarily the best team that wins every year. A lot has to go right, depending on what region you're in, certainly depending on, injuries and things like that, as we've seen for specifically this Florida basketball team. So that's why I would go that way. For me, the Heisman, as you know, I don't really care about that. It's an individual award.
I was surprised that it was beating multiple other options for a while.
And there hasn't been a Heisman Trophy winner at Florida in quite some time. Last one obviously being Tim Tebow, again in 7. But the intriguing one for me is if he had win the SEC championship in football, not just make the college football playoff.
Yeah.
I think if he had switched that, I'm not saying Dan did a bad job. I'm just saying I think if he had win the SEC championship in football, that would have beaten out even the men's natty in basketball.
Yeah, and I think to your point, the football rules the world, so that's always going to get a large chunk of it. I also think personalities help and the relevancy of it helps, because when it comes to DJ Lagway right now, the way the season ended and just the high everybody was on watching him play, and that was such a topic of conversation. I think that the personality side of that and the excitement of what type of player he is feeds into that. I also think that the casual just football, most Florida fans are going to be football first, obviously. But then with basketball right now, this is a team that guys like Pat Young's been talking about this team a lot and comparing him to the 2014?
Yeah.
The 2014 team. And then Joakim Noah's been talking about certain players on this team, and they have some personalities that have stood out. And so I do think because we're in the midst of that right now too, that does help, because you're talking about it on a daily basis.
And if you selected Heisman, it's because Lagway for Heisman. It's because you also know that if your quarterback is winning a Heisman Trophy,
you're probably
in the mix.
Although
for
Jaden Daniels and LSU and their 8-win season, his final year in Baton Rouge, may have something to say about that.
But for the most part, it usually means your team is amongst the best in all of the country.
Taylor, if we were to flip the turntables, and I know Micah Shrewsbury's squad hasn't necessarily given South Bend a lot to cry home about, but if it was Notre Dame in that scenario, which are you taking?
Notre Dame men's basketball is a disaster right now.
Women's basketball. So women's
the
basketball.
women's basketball,
yeah. Neil Ivey.
I mean, I think because for me too, when it comes to Notre Dame, like the football side has just been such a bigger part of my life. Like my family wasn't ones that were like digging in the trenches of going to watch a Notre Dame baseball game. It just wasn't that. It was like Notre Dame football. That's what it was. So for me, I guess because of the fact that it would be, to your point, a Heisman quarterback, meaning that the Notre Dame was probably playing pretty dang good, and usually the quarterbacks have been the issue at Notre Dame. So to think of a Heisman quarterback there right now sounds fun.
I guess Travis Hunter, his team certainly wasn't among the Final Four, Elite Eight, however you want to call it.
We've had some outliers, but I think for the most part, it is, whether it's your entering that world of getting really excited for the Joe Burrow example and stuff like that, or you are in the midst of something really fun. And sometimes I think that when you think about the Heisman, it is more so the factor of that quarterback is somebody that everybody is watching at that point. So your school is getting all of this attention of, oh, they have a Heisman quarterback. And so I do think that adds an element for people, especially if you're more of a casual fan.
Part of why I asked about Notre Dame is because one of our Heeligans, or maybe it's a Heelbilly, says, I guess FSU is chopped liver. No, Link Jarrett, formerly of Notre Dame, now with Florida State, is not chopped liver. Round of applause, RJ, for the Noles, who did get a win over USF last night. They are now 4-0 to begin the season, a 6-2 result. And they did have to go on the road just like Florida, except they had to go down to Tampa Town.
Yeah, Link Jarrett in his first year, things did not go according to plan there in Tallahassee. And he then decided he was going to completely revamp the roster, which a lot of coaches learn after some time. Billy Napier, I think, was kind of similar in that vein too. And then once you get your guys who want to play your way, then we saw what FSU was last season. Made it to Omaha, was one of the Final Four. I think would have been an even bigger storyline if it wasn't for, and they were a huge storyline in college baseball, but you had this Florida team that, like we talked about last week with Zach Alberverdi, Taylor, they didn't even know if they were going to get in.
Yeah.
And then they were one of the Final Four teams. And obviously the storyline with Jack Caglione and the two-way player and things like that. Like, I feel like the Florida baseball almost overshadowed what FSU did. But certainly FSU right now ranked 5th in the country, according to Baseball America. They've got some incredible talent. And going
not
back,
chopped liver.
No, going back to our conversation in the first segment about the transfer portal, Alex Lodi's started at UNF, transferred to FSU, having a monster. Well, he had a monster season last year. I'm sure he'll have another one this year. And so it's the same kind of thing. Like UNF, I'm sure, would love that finder's fee, that transfer portal fee. All right, now on the other side, Mia will try to make you some money. We got. Oh, by the way, what's your answer? And you get to choose Ithaca or Iowa.
Oh, Ithaca or Iowa. That's a great question. So we've gotten to the Elite Eight in basketball in Ithaca, not Iowa, needless to say. I would probably say. Again, I actually think Taylor made the best point of, like, it's about the personalities, quite frankly. And I would probably, because of personalities, pick the college football playoff for both. Because a Division III school going to the college football playoff would be amazing. But I think a lot of it has to deal with, like, shout out to Mike Torper and what he's been able to build at Ithaca. Like, I root for them because of who they are. And on the flip side of that, I mean, let's be real, Fran McCaffrey's a bit embattled right now at the University of Iowa as the head coach. His own son has transferred. His other son, who is a senior in high school, has committed to Butler. There are questions about his longevity in Iowa City. They're not winning a ton. And so, again, there's not that emotional pull. Right now, you look at Todd Golden, you look at what that team has been able to do over the last however many months, and you're like, how could I not root for this bunch that, as our friend Spielberg Graham Marsh said to me, every single guy on that roster has an edge. That's why when it comes to 50-50 balls, when you have to hit the deck, when you have to go up and get a rebound that maybe, not everybody would try to, muck it up a little bit, those Gator players have no fear in doing so.
Yeah. By the way, got home from the baseball game last night and then watched every second of the basketball game. So it's good to be a Gator right now. And certainly for FSU baseball fans, it's
no
good to be
longer
them
spring sports
as
school,
well.
by the way, Florida. Welcome to the winter sports world, as Joe Cowart once so eloquently stated.
All right, Mia, we'll try to make you money. On the other side, keep it right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
He'll tell you about tonight's games and hot topics.
It's him.
Hacker After Dark. I'm always punctual. Live and local. Even late night.
You're exactly the kind of hero the world needs.
Right after Rick Ballou. Evenings on 1010XL.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. At Terminix, they know how to stop termites just like they did at my house. These destructive pests may have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so does Terminix. And their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem. I certainly did not want to. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code LOCAL to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code LOCAL for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code LOCAL for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
This is Mark Nato. My son Justin injured his hand playing baseball for JU. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist performed surgery just a few days later, and within 5 weeks, he was cleared to play in the ASUN baseball tournament. Our family has trusted Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for years. For any orthopedic injury, let Southeast Orthopedic Specialists take care of you too.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
Joe C. for Hard Rock Bet. Football season may be over, but there's plenty of action everywhere else. Not sure what to bet on? Check out the Discover page at Hard Rock Bet. You can download the app or head to hardrock.bet. College basketball, we're closing in on the biggest tournament of the year. Don't go in blind. Bet on the action today. Hard Rock Bet. Download the app. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On February 19, 1978, Bobby Allison at the 20th Daytona 500 started 33rd, taking the lead with 11 laps remaining, becoming the winner with the lowest starting position to win the 500.
This is Hayes Carlyon for First Florida Credit Union. Come join me in Helmets and Heels as we celebrate First Florida Credit Union's new Roosevelt Roosevelt location. Helmets and Heels will be broadcasting live from 6319 Roosevelt Boulevard from 12 to 2 p.m. this Thursday. Come learn about the many ways First Florida Credit Union is enriching people. There will be refreshments and cool giveaways. Come see Helmets and Heels this Thursday live from 12 to 2 p.m. at First Florida Credit Union's Roosevelt location. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
This Black History Month profile is brought to you by McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. McGowan's got your back. Ken Burrow was a Raines High School football legend who led the Vikings to an 8-1-1 record in its inaugural season along with the Big 9 North Conference Championship. At Texas Southern University, Burrow racked up an impressive 138 total receptions for 1,912 yards. As an All-American in both track and football. He passed away peacefully in 2002 at the age of 73.
Duck Rooter is the only master septic contractor in Northeast Florida, and we want to help you protect your septic system. Think about this. What would happen to your car if you never changed the oil? Septic systems are no different and should be pumped at least every 3 years. Lack of maintenance is the #1 reason for septic system failure. Call Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services today to schedule your pumping.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
Need a fast casual option that's healthy, fresh, and delicious? Choose the Great Greek Mediterranean Grill. Gyros, salads, hummus, and more made completely fresh right as you order. Off 210 and St. John's Parkway. The Great Greek Mediterranean Grill.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale Lighting, Fans, and Home Decor on 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Before we get to this week's picks, do you want to recap last week, how we did?
Let me pull that up. Stand by.
I'm hoping for success. I'm hoping we have made the listeners money.
I can tell you this. I did not make money off of our friends with Liverpool FC last week. I did the week prior, so they will be featured in some form or fashion. We are picking some soccer games in this week's 5-game parlay. I know that we definitely did, as I'm trying to pull it up on my bookie right now. I know we definitely did in women's basketball.
Okay.
No women's basketball pick in this week's 5-game parlay. Say, what? It's because we've got a lot of other areas we need to hit. But I know that we made it because on my women's basketball podcast, we've been joking that the most surefire bet that you can make is on the home team in the Big 12 right now, because at the top of the table, if to take a soccer term, ironically enough, of the teams that are 1 through 5 in the Big 12 standings, they have 2 home losses between the two of them, and only one of them came in conference play. And so if there's a surefire bet out there, last week we made some money with Arizona. If there's a surefire bet out there, it's taking the home team in the Big 12, and we did do that last week.
All right, good stuff. Let's get to this week's picks.
Now, Mia's midday MyBookie picks. Experience the Vegas thrill from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie.
Like I said, we're going to pull from a variety of places in the wide world of sports with this week's MyBookie picks. Be sure to sign up using promo code 1010XL. Get a 50% deposit bonus on that first deposit. We begin in college basketball on the men's side in the Big East. A conference that has been much maligned because of the rise of the SEC this year. There are some expectations of only 3 to 4 teams getting in, not only on the men's side. The women's side may only have 2 bids from the Big East. This is supposed to be the basketball conference of basketball conferences. But that doesn't mean they can't have their fair share of chaos. On Saturday, Providence snapped a 4-game losing streak at home against Villanova. They pulled out a 75-62 victory. They're on the road tonight at Georgetown. This is a Hoyas squad that, of course, is led by the former head coach at Providence and one Ed Cooley. They have won 2 of their last 5. And I've got the Hoyas, who are a 2-point favorite in this one. I think Providence comes back down, Providence comes back down to earth a little bit, and Ed Cooley gets the best of his former employer. So give me the Hoyas, -2 in D.C. To the NBA we go, staying on the hardwood after All-Star Weekend. Just 1 game in the NBA tonight. And RJ, I know it's your Lakers, man, but why is Lakers-Hornets the marquee standalone game on this fine Wednesday?
Due to the fires that were happening in LA,
okay.
there
All right.
were a couple of rescheduled games, this one being one of them.
Got you. Okay. So it actually is a serious it's a legit. So now I feel bad. Because obviously
went from tongue in cheek to
yikes.
I
thought this was
my tongue.
Yes. I thought this was a Lucas showcase. I'm like, the ESPN is out here like trying to just milk it for what it's worth. Yeah, no, because for those of you who don't know, the Hornets are a cellar dweller this year. And ironically, for Dalton Connect's purposes and Mark Williams as well, these are the two teams that trade that got rescinded before the All-Star break. This is the two teams. So that's going to be fascinating to see. The Lakers are a 12-point favorite, and I am taking RJ's team to cover that 12-point spread against the lowly Charlotte Hornets. I told you that we would be spanning the wide world of sports. We are. I told you we'd have Come On You Reds, Liverpool FC featured in this week's picks, and we do. They're taking on Aston Villa. Oh, love it, RJ. They're taking on Aston Villa tonight. I'm not going to bother with the spread because goals and, it's a lot to try to, especially in like a low-scoring game, if it's a 1-0 game, like does a half, which right now is the current spread, like do you really play a half? I'm just going to take Liverpool on the money line and hope for the best. So
it kicks off at 2:30 today.
Yes.
By the way, I feel like you should pick some Fulham games.
I probably should.
For the local contingent.
Yeah, somebody said to me the other day, they're like, Fulham's like really good. I'm like, oh, I know. I used to intern down the street from there. And that was when Jacksonville was but a glimmer in my eye when I was 20 years old. So I was a Fulham fan before it was cool to be a Fulham fan. Shout out Clint Dempsey. To college baseball, if you haven't gotten your fill just yet, and RJ's like, oh no, what am I going to play for baseball? Oh, no, he came ready. He's got the college. He's ready to go. We are going to play the Indiana State Sycamores minus 1.5 runs. Indiana State down in Fort Myers this evening, taking on a fellow ASUN squad for JU and UNF fans out there in Florida Gulf Coast. Of course, the Sycamores are not only 3-1 this year to begin the season, they were 44-15 a year ago, one of the best marks in all of college baseball, taking on a Florida Gulf Coast team that is open to a 1-3 record. Give me the Sycamores to keep it rolling down in Southwest FLA. And finally, again, we're all over the place here. We're going to the Four Nations face-off. The championship game, we talked about it yesterday, is Thursday night. So this week's midday MyBookie picks spanning both Wednesday and Thursday. USA, Canada. The Americans are 1.5 goal favorites in this game. But what I'm actually going to do, ladies, I'm going to play the under 5.5 goals. Why is that? Well, quite frankly, if you look at the 7 games that have taken place up to this point that gets us, or 6 games that have gotten us to this championship round, unless Finland is involved, you should take the under. Let's rattle through them, shall we? Okay. So
those Finland, I guess goal scorers are really good.
Yeah, or they just got blown out.
Or their goalkeeper is terrible. One or the other.
Well, yeah, it's one or the other.
So Canada defeated Sweden 4-3, so that's not technically playing the under, but that was in overtime, so we filed that one away. USA, Finland, a 6-1 result on Thursday night, so obviously that would have been the over. USA, Canada in the first meeting. USA 3, Canada 1. And then on Monday night, again, if it involves Finland, take the over. 5-3, Canada prevailed over the Finnish. And then the United States fell to Sweden 2-1. So I'm going to play the under in that Four Nations face-off championship game tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on ESPN from the Garden in Boston. So just to recap again, here are my 5 picks for this week's midday MyBookie picks. The Georgetown Hoyas, Eddie Cooley, -2. That is a minus number as well on the money line. At home against Providence tonight on the hardwood. The Los Angeles Lakers, -12, covering the spread against the visiting Charlotte Hornets. Liverpool on the money line, -110 to defeat Aston Villa this afternoon. The Indiana State Sycamores baseball team, -1.5 at Florida Gulf Coast. And finally, under 5.5. The total, including overtime, in the Four Nations face-off final round.
2 questions for you.
Yes.
1, will you be at the River City Rumble tomorrow night that tips off at 8 o'clock?
Most likely no, because I will be calling JU Women's Lacrosse Friday and JU Women's Basketball Saturday, and I have friends coming into town, so I will be
So you'll be watching the USA Nations, or the Four Nations of the United States and Canada. I know that's what you'll be watching, too. I thought about that, how I'll be at the River City Rumble at UNF Arena for part 2, and I know that social media will be ablaze no matter what happens.
Oh, yeah.
With that hockey game. So I'll be somewhat paying attention to that. But second question, Mia, how on earth did you decide to go Indiana State, Florida Gulf Coast baseball?
I just saw college baseball pop up on my bookie under the featured tab, Lauren, and I said, let's have a little fun here with some college baseball. And because I saw NCAA BA, so if you go to mybookie.ag right now, it's the final tab under the featured tab. So just go all the way to the right. And I said, let's look at some baseball lines. Currently, some other games you can get in on the action for in NCAA baseball this afternoon. Tulane at Southeastern Louisiana, Mercer at Kennesaw State, Cal State Bakersfield at USC. That's the real USC out in California.
And I'm looking at the radar now, I'm assuming that this band of rain that we're experiencing will be departed from Southwest Florida by the time
I hope so. Although I
pitch.
would think that our friends at MyBookie will take care of us, because I know that if you push on a bet, they refund you your money. There's risk-free odds boosts on Thursdays where you can just bet without a sweat. And I would hope if the game doesn't actually take place, that one will just be scratched.
Yeah, or they can reschedule it and we can revisit later. Yeah, I was just curious because normally with your MyBookie picks, you have some sort of a tie to them. But when I heard you say Indiana State, I was like, I don't know
what's happening.
I really have
We
no
got
idea
4
where this
games
is
on the
coming
board.
from.
I had to pick one of them. So
when you're talking about pretty campuses, by the way, Florida Gulf Coast is one of those. If you've never seen that campus, that's one of the ones that I toured when I was looking at trying to decide which college I wanted to go to. Very pretty campus.
Yeah, they do a lot of advertising to show how close they are to the beach, the white sand beaches and things like that. Because obviously UNF does marketing, JU does marketing that also the beach is somewhat nearby, but Florida Gulf Coast, I imagine, that's a big selling point for them.
I don't think it's that pretty up at Indiana State this time of the year.
Especially not right now. It was -4 up there yesterday, and I'm like, oh my God.
It's a very good baseball program, though. That's also why I picked them, just because I remember from last year and from years covering the Big Ten in college baseball, they're consistently a pretty good program from the Valley. So, and I love the Missouri Valley Conference.
Well, speaking of college basketball, UNF was victorious last night. They were able to clinch a berth into the ASUN championship this season, so that's good news. They beat Stetson 79-71. JU did lose 72-56 at Florida Gulf Coast, speaking of that. But JU already had clinched a spot in the tournament. So we will have, like I said, the game tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Last I heard, you can still get tickets, but I would imagine that those are selling quickly. So make sure you get those at unfospreys.com. All right, so I wanted to revisit the men's basketball preseason AP Top 25.
Let's do it.
I want to see how these voters, and when I collectively say the voters, I am not in any way, shape, or form attacking Mia O'Brien for being an AP Top 25 voter.
It's all your fault.
It's all my fault.
If the voters collectively...
It's not my fault that Bill Self tried to build a Madden team and it didn't work out.
That might be exactly why I was thinking about...
I was one of the few who had Florida, by the way.
Oh, good.
Highly ranked.
And we'll get to that. But that's the reason I thought about this is, Taylor, I don't know if you saw, but Kansas lost by 34 points last night to BYU. Kansas was ranked in the top 25. I would imagine they won't be after that loss. And so where was Kansas, do you think, in the AP top 25 preseason ballot? That's right. Number one. Got that one wrong. Again, blue bloods a lot of times get a little bit more of the voting power than some non-blue bloods. And so Kansas, others we'll get to in a second, but other schools that, again, are basketball blue bloods will find themselves in the top 25 and may not deserve to be. All right, number 2, I think the preseason poll was very close in getting this one right. That's Alabama. Alabama has had a terrific season. They're not the best team in the SEC, but they're close to the best team in the SEC. UConn. Where do you have UConn ranked now, Mia?
Not ranked.
Not ranked. That's what I thought. Houston, another one, and Iowa State, another. I would say those are programs that deserve to be in the top 10. So those the AP voters got right. Where do you have Gonzaga ranked in your top 25?
Not ranked.
Yeah.
Although the metrics mafia does like them. They're still top 20 in Ken Palm, still top 20 in Bart Torvik. Unfortunately, it's the nature of playing in the WCC. We kind of forget about them. Although St. Mary's and San Francisco are making a push, and Santa Clara. So, like, I mean, and Gonzaga's lost in conference play. I mean, most recently as 3-4 years ago in 2021, they were undefeated. And that's not the first time they've run just through the conference play unblemished.
I wouldn't call Gonzaga a blue blood in men's basketball, but certainly they're a team. I would say they're, if you want to say maybe a newer blue blood, I would say
the
they're
new bloods, not the blue bloods.
Exactly. Duke, ranked number 7 preseason. I would say the voters did a good job knowing Cooper Flagg and that bunch. Number 8, Baylor. Where's Baylor ranked?
If I was to have a 25-1, like Gary Parrish at CBS Sports, they'd probably be 26th.
Okay. Another blue blood that I was alluding to earlier that is in the poll, ranked number 9 preseason, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss.
Oh, how the mighty have
But that's
fallen.
definitely one that I feel like people just throw in because
That's what
it's
I'm
North
saying.
No, I mean, in my defense and in the voters' defense, like RJ.
Where did you have them there? Like around 9?
I'm pulling it up right now. Here we go. We have my
Also,
actual
hold on.
ballot.
So there's one SEC team in the top 10 in the preseason rankings.
That is correct. That is 100% correct.
I had two because I had Auburn and Alabama.
Okay, well, you're smart. Auburn does come in at number 11.
Okay.
Arizona, by the way, was 10th in the preseason.
I believe I had Florida the highest of any AP voter. If
Okay.
memory serves me, I had them 17th at that point.
And Florida finds themselves 21st, the now second-ranked team. And I understand you wouldn't have had Florida second. I get that. But with what Todd Golden had built last year and then bringing in Elijah Martin, bringing in Ruben Chinyelu, seeing the development of obviously the other pieces on this team, Walter Clayton Jr. returning should have had Florida as a top 10 team, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and that's what crazy about this is seeing that only one SEC team is in the top 10 on this poll.
Tennessee was
Also
number
is
12.
also saying that Florida's 17 and it's not even a conference that they thought was going to be that good, and to the point where you're not seeing another one until Auburn at 11 and Tennessee at 12 and then Texas A&M.
Then
there's
there's
some
a run on the SEC teams. Arkansas 16th. Where's Arkansas ranked right now?
Not ranked.
And why was Arkansas ranked that high?
Because John Calipari is their head coach.
Exactly. And because he came from, a blue blood. Kentucky, by the way, was 23rd in the preseason top 25. So, I'm not saying that the AP voters were ever going to get it exactly right. I'm not saying that. But just some of these preseason rankings for teams that are not even in the top 25.
That happens every year. I mean, especially like going back to the North Carolina situation, like that's a real unfortunate one because look, RJ Davis was a preseason National Player of the Year candidate, and Hubert Davis has rightfully been criticized with how he constructed that roster, that they play their center should really be the 3. Like he should be out, he should be a wing, and he's completely miscasted. They start 5 guards, for lack of a better term. They have no inside presence. They can't protect the rim, and it's come back to haunt them because Elliot Cadeau has taken a step back and has regressed as a shooter. And so it's just unfortunate, but again, it speaks to roster construction, and it speaks to even with Hubert and UNC where they've really tried to keep this more traditional. Like they have still recruited 4-year players right out of high school. It hasn't been all about the transfer portal, but it still speaks to, and locally I know there's plenty of teams here on the men's and women's side that have felt this at times throughout the course of the last few months, where you bank on, all right, well, I've got this great player, and that great player, and it's going to work out. And it doesn't always work out that way. Just ask Bill Self.
Yeah.
Bill Self last year went out and he got a strong 7-man rotation. One person gets hurt. The other transfer, I believe he was from VCU, JMU, I forget which one. He doesn't pan out. And so you literally had 5 guys. And that's why he went out and he over-recruited this past offseason to the point that Riley Kugel showed up in Lawrence, Kansas and was told there's no scholarship available for you, sir. Yeah. You have to transfer or take a gray shirt. And now he still has that group of quote-unquote all-stars, and they're not winning.
Yeah, people are certainly going to look to see how did Todd Golden construct his roster with these transfer guys? How did he develop, or how did he identify the talent and then certainly develop a guy like an Alex Condon, like a Thomas Houck into what they are now? How would you have had any idea to recruit those types of guys? And the one thing I'll say about the massive victory Florida had over Oklahoma last night. So saw the scores as we were at the baseball game, and at half Florida was already blowing out Oklahoma. But watching the game, it was really close in the first 10 minutes or so. And then all of a sudden, Florida was like, all right, hold my beer.
Yeah, time to go.
We know we're better than this. And then certainly they're such a fun team to watch. The alley-oops to Ruben Chinyelu, the guys that, like Mia said earlier, they are so aggressive and they play to the echo of the whistle, if you can say that in basketball. Like I know Liam Cohen wants his teams to play here as far as the Jaguars football is concerned. All right, let's get it to college football on the other side. We will check in with Stuart Mandel of The Athletic. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Close your eyes and tap your heels together 3 times and think to yourself, there's no place like home. There's no place like
1010XL.
But some people without brains do an awful lot of talking.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. And thanks to my designer, Francis, now I have a beautiful, functional, incredibly designed just for me closet of my own. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com. Don't believe me? Just watch. Check out the video on my social channels of how amazing my brand new walk-in closet design by Francis and I is. And of course, take advantage of extended savings this month. Get 40% off and another 15% off with 18-month special financing. Closets by Design at 1-800-293-3744.
This is Daytona, the awe-inspiring spectacle of Supercross, and the most challenging course to witness the air-catching, adrenaline-pumping, heart-pounding action unlike any other race in Florida. Daytona Supercross. The biggest names battle it out under the lights at the World Center of Racing. Don't miss it. The gate drops Saturday, March 1st. Secure your tickets and trackside access today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
If you've played sports or still lead an active life, chances are joint pain is nothing new. This is Dr. George Barry of Barry Orthopedics, and we like to be your option when it comes to taking care of your body and getting back in the game. From shoulders to elbows to hip and knee pain, Barry Orthopedics can diagnose and treat a variety of injuries that are causing you pain. We are Barry Orthopedics and online at barryorthopedics.com. With more than 30 years of experience, our team is here to care for your entire family.
Find out more at barryorthopedics.com. That's BAHRI orthopedics.com.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here. In the past 10 years, the weight loss industry has seen it all. New medications, fad diets, sculpting, and still, Awaken 180 continues to stand alone as the proven solution for weight loss online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Attention golfers, Hidden Hills Golf Club is an attractive destination for golfers all over the Southeast. You too will enjoy our classic Arnold Palmer design that will test your game and keep you coming back. Book a tee time at hiddenhillsgc.com.
Homeowners, listen up. It's time to start fresh in 2025. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto is here to help take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payments and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto now. Lock in at a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call now, 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and I tell you what, you got something really cool coming up, a Triumph Off-Road Day. Give us all the details.
We do. It's February 22nd. It's at North Florida Motocross Park up in Hilliard. We're going to be there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. doing demo rides. Bring your gear and come ride a Triumph dirt bike.
And that means you can find out everything that Triumph has to offer off-road.
Absolutely. We will have the 250 and the new 450 ready to ride.
Check it out. All the details are on Cycles of Jacksonville's Facebook page.
Pick it here for Bow 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bow 9. Visit Bow 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bow 9 Associates, keeping the first coast focused.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-72
weekday if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
The First Coast Games is an annual team-building challenge to introduce fun activities into the workplace and focus on your employees' health and wellness goals. These goals include some friendly competition, of course, including pickleball, cornhole, volleyball, flag football, and other team sports. The games will begin in March. Register your company and teams at fcymca.org.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by First Coast YMCA. The JU Dolphins men basketball team suffered their second ASUN road loss of the season last night against the FGCU Eagles 72-56. The Dolphins struggled in the rebounding battle again, losing 40-35, only the fourth time in conference play that a team has beaten the Dolphins on the glass. The Dolphins have one final road game for the regular season as they head to the Nest for Part 2 of the River City Rumble against the UNF Ospreys tomorrow night. The Ospreys are coming off a win against Stetson 79-71 last night, leading them to clinch a spot in the ASUN Championship. Sophomore guard Josiah Miles stepped up big for the Ospreys, scoring 19 points with 7 rebounds. Ospreys head coach Driscoll spoke post-game on having the confidence to finish.
Really proud of our guys' resiliency, but to our guys' credit, they were able to finish this one like our theme is. Confidence to finish, and they had it tonight.
It's 58 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
All right, let's get into some more college football. We touched on this a little bit yesterday with Matt Hayes, but our show has not really dove into the concept yet, and now we are joined by Stuart Mandel of The Athletic, who wrote an article yesterday about the Big Ten and the SEC wanting to, we're talking about the expansion to 14 and 16, but also some now automatic bids getting thrown into this. Stuart, thank you for hopping on with us. This article was fascinating for me to read, so I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's start with your thoughts from this last season, this first 12-team playoff, because I feel like, in my opinion, and you kind of touched upon it in this article too, it did what you wanted it to do in the sense of you did see some new names in there. You still got an Ohio State winning, and Ohio State wouldn't have even made it if it was a 4-team. So you still had some of those factors of the reason why they wanted to expand in the first place. Maybe some adjustments need to be made when it comes to the buys and things like that. But what were your thoughts on this first year with that 12-team and how it ended up playing out?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't perfect. There's certainly format flaws that I think need to be addressed, like how they do those top 4 seeds. But when they envisioned this thing a few years ago, I think it wasn't so much about we need a better way to crown a national champion. It was that the 14 playoff had squeezed out large parts of the country. It was kind of the same programs every year. And so to have Indiana and SMU and Boise State get their moment in the sun, I think was one of the main goals of this thing. You're never going to stop Ohio State and Notre Dame and all these blue bloods from winning the national championship. But this kind of gives everybody a seat at the table. And then the part I was not expecting, and, it was kind of the opposite. I thought, okay, once we have a 12-team playoff, nobody's going to care about the other bowls. And, in fact, we saw a pretty significant bump in the ratings for those Pop-Tarts Bowl, Alamo Bowl, you name it, down the line, Pinstripe Bowl. And I think that's directly because that, adding those games, those first-round playoff games in mid-December, just kept everybody interested in college football throughout that time period.
Yeah, I also think, Stuart, it's because, for instance, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Miami, people wanted to watch and see, well, did Miami deserve to be in the playoff or in Alabama? Right. Things like that. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why would the ACC and the Big 12 agree to the SEC and the Big 10 getting the 4 automatic qualifiers and then them only getting 2? Like, why? And the group of 5, I think, is a little bit different. But why would the ACC and Big 12 say, okay, SEC, Big 10, it's your way?
Well, this kind of goes back a year to when they agreed to the extension with ESPN, where basically the SEC and Big 10 kind of strong-armed them and said, you're going to agree to X, Y, unequal revenue and all these things. But the crazy part is that no longer do these kind of decisions have to be unanimous. The Big Ten and SEC can basically call their shots. And now that that's in writing, yeah, they want to impose this, I think, very unfortunate model where they would each get 4 automatic bids. Now they're going to say, well, the Big 12 and ACC are getting 2, and look, that's one more than the Big 12 got last year. The ACC hasn't always been a kind of conference that should get 2 or 3 bids, but I just think that it's going to conferences and make it seem like the playoff is like the deck is stacked against the schools outside those 2 major conferences.
You can find Stuart on X at SL Mandel. That's Mandel the editor-in-chief of the Athletics college football coverage. Stuart, as much as you primarily focus on the world of college football, I do want to read a tweet from your timeline because it brings us to the other expansion that we are seeing, most notably in the NCAA, because as Matt Hayes said to us yesterday, the expectation is that this expansion of postseason play in order to create more revenue for these college programs, we're going to see it in all sports, and that includes men's basketball. You tweeted on February 15th, the NCAA tournament is as close as there is to perfection. It was only a matter of time before someone screwed it up. 76 teams. I know I don't like it. Clearly you don't like it as well.
Yeah. I don't cover college basketball anymore, but I am a huge, huge, huge March Madness fan. I always have been. And like I said in there, I just think when the game tips off at noon Eastern on Thursday, it's the 2 best days of the sports year, in my opinion. So, of course, we're going to muddle with that. And, I think the first 4 has been pretty harmless. It's not that many teams, but I don't think anybody really has ever embraced those games in Dayton as being the start of the NCAA tournament. If they go to 76 and there's 28 teams that are playing in that, I think there'd be multiple sites. It's just going to water down the field so much. Now, the difference between this and the CFP is all of the major conferences are in favor of tournament expansion, even some of the mid-major conferences, because more money, right? But if you think it through in terms of the, who's going to get those extra spots, it's not going to be more Cinderellas. It's going to be more 12th place SEC teams or an ACC and Big 12 and whatnot. And that's not what people tune into March Madness for. They tune into March Madness for the upsets. I think it's a shame that some of the teams that would have, been 16 and 15 seeds in the bracket and playing for sure on Thursday or Friday might get eliminated in these, new first-round games. But it does sound like it's pretty far down the road and that they're pretty close to, whether it's 72 or 76, that we should expect one of those things to happen.
Now, Stuart, you mentioned in the top of this conversation about how the interest in college football just lingered into a little longer, and that expanded, into not only the college football playoff, but those bowl games. And do you feel like this, if it happened to where they get the 4 automatic bids for the Big Ten and the SEC, that it would backtrack a little bit of the progress we've made? Because when you have, I feel like we'd go back to a sense where in the start of November, we're pretty much knowing who is in, where to this year, it was final weeks where we're still really trying to figure out if a Miami or a South Carolina or an Alabama were going to get in.
We'd have to get into it and see it, but I think people are always going to be interested in the playoff. If you tell them there's 14 teams now, okay. I worry about the effect on the regular season, because what the Big Ten and SEC are proposing is no more, at least for their bids, no more committee, top 4 teams in our conference standings. It's and that reduces the subjectivity of the not having the committee make those decisions. But it also means that you get down to the end of the season and people are going to be less concerned about who wins the SEC and more concerned about who finishes 4th. Mm-hmm. And that's not what this sport has ever been about.
Stuart, I know that ESPN executives don't love this college football format that the SEC and Big Ten are trying to push through. What do you think as far as will that end up affecting what we eventually see as the new 14 or 16 team model?
One of the interesting things that I don't think isn't even well known, but and we reported this a year ago, but this new deal, this $1.3 billion a year deal, says in it that they don't have to pay them more money if they expand the playoff. So, but you would think there's no way they're going to they're going to do this to make more money. There's no way they would do this if they don't make more money. So if that's the case, you're kind of counting on ESPN just kind of out of the goodness of their heart to be like, yeah, we really want you to do this, and we'll, even despite what the contract says, we'll pay you more. And I don't get the sense that they're all that excited about it. I mean, those first round games did really well. It's not to say they didn't, but they went opposite the NFL. But by the way, that's another part of this. When are they going to play those games? They already had a problem this year with the 4 first round games, or 2 of them went head to head with big NFL games. Now you're going to try to schedule 6. I don't think this is all that. I don't think the total ramifications have been all that taken into account.
Couple more for Stuart Mandel of The Athletic. Stuart, let's talk a little bit of actual ball on the field, or at the very least off-season coaching carousel chaos. You released your grades for all 27 college football coaching hires made this offseason on the Athletics page. I'm curious, for you, give us the biggest home run hire of this coaching carousel cycle and the biggest, oh boy, this one is going to backfire, in your opinion.
Okay. I think the home run hire is West Virginia reuniting with Rich Rodriguez. He's such a great coach, and he was, responsible for the best run West Virginia football's had probably in the last 30 or 40 years. And he just took a brand new Jacksonville State program, and in his second year won the conference. He knows what he's doing. It's a great fit, and it's frankly something West Virginia needs, because they've been in the Big 12 for like a dozen years now, and they've never really broken through. They've always kind of been middle of the pack, and I think he could lead them to, I don't know if it'd be the first year or the second year, but he can lead them into playoff contention. The one I gave a D to was UCF and Scott Frost. And the difference there is, in terms of we're going to bring back the guy who led us to success. Rich Rod's has been doing this for 2 decades. He's got a pretty distinguished track record outside of that Michigan debacle. Scott Frost's sample size is much smaller. He had one great season at UCF before leaving for Nebraska, and the Nebraska tenure couldn't have gone much worse. And now UCF's not in the AAC anymore. They're in the Big 12. I think that you said blow up in their face. Maybe not quite to that extent, but I don't think it's going to, lead UCF back to glory.
Stuart, final one before we let you go. We are the home of the Gators here at 1010XL, so I do want to ask you just the end of the season for Florida and what Billy Napier was able to do with DJ Lagway coming in, kind of taking the reins there late. It gave a lot of optimism for the Gators fans of what's coming up. What are your thoughts on what happened towards the end of the season, especially with a really difficult schedule that Florida ended up playing?
Mm-hmm. It was a very impressive, very encouraging, back last month of the season, those wins over LSU and Ole Miss. And obviously DJ Lagway is the face of it. But I thought the most impressive thing was their defense was brutal early in the season. And by the end of the year, was shutting down Jackson Dart and playing at a really high level. I think the challenge in the SEC is, if you're Florida, you have a lot of reason to feel optimistic about next season. But if you go around the conference, Texas A&M fans feel the same way. LSU fans feel the same way. And so on. It's Missouri fans. There's just so many programs in that position, and some of them will deliver on it, some of them will fall short, and it's going to be not a lot of margin for error there. But given where Billy Napier was at the beginning of the season, where everybody wanted to fire him, to be going into next season with momentum was very impressive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think obviously we've talked a ton about the SEC basketball recently, and one of the titles of a recent article you had written a little bit longer ago, but it said the SEC isn't going anywhere. Sorry, Big Ten fans. And I think that speaks to a lot of people, because it's the SEC. But again, Stuart Mandel, part of The Athletic. I really appreciate you hopping on and joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Stuart. And Mia, I was shocked you didn't ask him about his women's basketball tweet with Juju Watkins.
Yeah, no, I did. And look, we had a great discussion with Matt Hayes, and I continued it even off the air before the boys of primetime took over here on the Superstation. The idea of, in women's basketball, much like we've seen in the NFL or in college football, and in men's college basketball as well. The idea of Michaela Blakes, who one of our Heeligans asked about on the text line, Design My Lifetime Enclosures, the freshman sensation at Vanderbilt, who now has 3 50-plus point games this season, but she plays at Vandy. Mm-hmm. And so Matt said to me, he was like, well, aren't Vandy and Iowa kind of the same thing right now? And I was like, yeah, at this point in time, yes, they are in that same middle of the pack, both going to make the tournament. But it speaks to, again, the parity, an idea of a player doesn't have to go to Georgia in college football, or doesn't have to go to UConn in women's basketball, or doesn't have to go to Auburn in men's basketball in order to become a household quote-unquote name. Now, with that said, Stewart was tweeting about Juju Watkins. Would Juju Watkins be the household name that she's become if she didn't play at hometown USC? The answer is probably no.
Yeah, I'll give you our Terminix Pest of the Day on the other side. Thanks again to Stuart Mandel of The Athletic for joining us. It's 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Now, Studio Talk with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
You got some bad habits of your own.
The Drill.
Namely, your attitude.
Mornings.
Thank you for playing. Should we follow the advice of the galactically stupid?
On 1010XL.
Technically, it's still New Year's resolution time. Why not skip the guilt and do something you'll actually stick to, though? Mia here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. How about fixing that leaky faucet, unclogging that drain, or getting that AC ready for the summer? Duck Duck Rooter is here to help you keep this resolution. Call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Invest in your home and start the year off right. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all-you-can-eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
This is Hayes Carlion for Physician Guided Weight Loss. I'm down 20 pounds already thanks to Physician Guided Weight Loss. I feel great, and it's all thanks to them. Their amazing technology, fast setup, friendly staff, and proven results have sold me. They can help you too, and it's affordable with firm pricing. No rising costs as you go. If you're like me and looking to kick off the new year with a leaner body, call my friends at Physician Guided Weight Loss at 257-4344. That's 257-4344.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
This month, 1010XL shines the spotlight on African Americans in our community who have made the First Coast a better place to live. I'm E.T. Listen for my stories during Black History Month on 1010XL. Brought to you by Instant Keys and McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code LOCAL to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code LOCAL for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code LOCAL for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
Tired of a plain and boring backyard? Stonecore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop choice to beautify your home. With pavers, stonework, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces, pergolas, and driveways. Visit stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Hey folks, Nick here for Zero Res, and if you still have a little bit of time for the hottest price of the year on carpet cleaning, maybe you had people over for the game or you're doing early spring cleaning, but in February, only $147 for 3 rooms, plus the 4th room is free. That's right. Schedule now and you'll get 3 rooms for $147, and the 4th room is free. Yeah, the 4th room is on me. Hottest price of the year. Zero res. Spell it forward, spell it backwards. Zero res. It's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero res.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
You waited forever for your new fence. Then, strangers show up. Subcontractors rushing the job. Sent by the company you trusted. Frustrating, right? Superior Fence and Rail promises better. Their professionally trained builders deliver quality you can trust. No subcontractors, no shortcuts. Just the superior craftsmanship your home deserves.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is JJ with 1010XL. No matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at KuhnFlowers.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Before I give you the pest of the day brought to you by Terminix, did want to let everyone know the Jaguars tweeted out that they have completed an in-person interview with Josh Williams for the general manager position. We, of course, knew that the interviews would start this morning, so that's the first one, at least, that they have revealed. They also, in addition to tweeting that out, used a picture of Tony Baselli walking along the hallways at the
Looks like a
Electric
giant
Center
in this picture.
next to Josh Williams. And yeah, nothing makes you more nervous than your 6'7" potential boss staring down at you. And
He's
by
like,
the way,
so how are you going to fix this?
Exactly. We're inheriting a mess. No, I'm just kidding. Some people do think that the 2024 draft class for the Jaguars isn't atrocious, so that's at least good news. But yeah, just wanted to give that update. We'll, of course, continue to update you on that general manager search as the interviews will be conducted in person today. And
I just want to know, are they going to do this with every one of them? Like
Yes.
walking down the hallway with Tony?
Well,
Like,
hopefully in different
corners of the
areas.
building.
Yeah, in different, like maybe Tony sitting down to have a meal with one of them.
Get him on like one of the little things that Kevin Hart has to stand on. By the way, I don't think we talked about this, but at the
All-Star game.
Oh my gosh. And he's standing by Shaq was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Slight height
Looked like a
difference.
child.
It is interesting, and I'm not trying to get too in the weeds on this,
Yeah.
but it is interesting that the picture the Jaguars used and put out there for everyone to see is of only Tony walking with Josh Williams. It's not Liam Cohen and Tony, or it's
Maybe
not
the
just
next
Liam.
one's with Liam. Maybe the next one's with
Mark
Sean.
Lamping.
Then the next one's with Mark. The next one's with Tony Khan. I don't know.
Like I said, I'm not reading too much into it. I just am reporting the facts as we see them.
Really quick, sorry, because Dan Graziano just reported that the NFL today informed teams that the 2025 per team salary cap will fall in the range of $277.5 million to $281.5. So that's a lot, way up from last year's $255.4 million. So cap will have increased by more than $53 million over the last 2 years.
And it's impressive considering we thought, the post-COVID, it'll only get up to here and it'll be this massive 1 year bump. But then after that, it'll
level
even itself.
out.
No, it's not.
The streaming services, I would assume them coming on board have greatly helped that, the extra profit.
Yeah.
Not that the NFL is hurting by any means, but the additional profit. All right, time now for today's Terminix Pest of the Day. We started the show talking a little college baseball. The pest of the day is related to college baseball, but if you have any sort of termites, they are incredibly destructive. You do not want termites affecting your home. And so visit Terminix.com, Terminix, and do like I did and have Terminix come out to your house and make sure you are protected. That's why they handle Everbank Stadium, Daly's Place, VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena, the Prime Osborne Convention Center, so many different places around town that are great event venues. They can do the same for you. All right, ladies, hopefully you saw this video, but if not, you can find it on that lovely app X or Twitter. Brian Curley. Have you ever heard of Brian Curley? I didn't think so. He is the Georgia baseball closer who became a viral sensation recently when So last night when Georgia's playing Kennesaw State has 2 outs, 2 strikes, but a runner on second. So obviously all Curley needs to do, he came from VCU. He was drafted by the Pirates, but this is not anti-Pirates. Was drafted, but decided to come back, play college baseball, and transferred to Georgia. So again, 2 outs, 2 strikes, 1 runner on second. Brian Curley looks back at the runner on second and puts his tongue out multiple times. Then he goes back, strikes out the batter, then throws his glove, throws his hands up, and basically is like, what else would you have expected? Of course, I was going to strike him out.
Hold on, put his tongue out, wagged his tongue at the runner on second, and then threw the glove. I've seen another video that people are obsessed with where he can still throw 100 despite the fact that he completely stops mid-motion to try and psych out a batter. Mm-hmm.
I understand that we have become accustomed to bat flips, and fine. If you want to show your emotion as you play baseball, by all means. This closer, Brian Curley, these histrionics are completely uncalled for in college baseball or baseball in general. He's going to get in a fight. Someone's going to fight him, and I'm not going to say that it's not unwarranted. I'm telling you, you're watching the video.
I'm going to have to go back and watch them.
Yeah, it's not appropriate behavior.
Yeah,
and it's Kennesaw State, for crying out loud, too, that you're beating there. Georgia ranked top 15 in the country.
Yeah, they're 4th.
I will say, so I'm not one of the people. I say have fun. I don't mind bat flips. I don't mind a little bit of messing with each other. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think that is a part of any game when you're playing a competitive sport. It's hard to completely shut that off, and to me, that shows you care. That doesn't bother me, but just in this there's an 18-second clip on Twitter, and the first one that popped up, and a little much.
The article I read said he's
going to get punched for
aggressively.
Sure. Benches are going to clear at some point this season over Brian Curley.
It also is hilarious because his actual windup has that weird pause in it too, which is almost borderline cocky.
Bulk. It almost is
it also
a
looks
bulky.
Like borderline bulk. Yeah, a bulky. It's cocky and it's a bulk. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm okay with the showmanship. I'm okay with it within reason. Because, again, much like we've talked about the sport of golf and wanting to show more emotion, be more accessible to the fans, not being perhaps as stuffy, I'm okay with it. But, yeah,
that's outside of the rules, though, even the unwritten rules of baseball. You don't have to immediately trot and sprint around the bases if you hit a home run. You can take your time if you need to, whatever. But this type of behavior is, I'll be surprised if he doesn't get some sort of talking to by the SEC. There should at least be a statement by the SEC saying
it was the end of the game, though.
Right, exactly. That's my point. There was 2 strikes.
I wanted him to do it in the middle of the game.
It
would just be hilarious
before it was done.
In the middle,
that was definitely him celebrating. But also, side note, he with that weird release he has, literally pauses in the middle for a while. Still throws 100. By the way, that was 100-mile-per-hour pitch, when he has a delay. Yeah.
But it's
so they'll have several pitchers that just average 100 miles per hour.
For all you baseball people out there, y'all can text into the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures 904-641-1010 or chat in the MyBookie Digital Studio. Y'all tell me if you've got Brian Curley's back or if you've got my back. And by the way, if I do have to fight him, I will do so. I'm just kidding. We've got one segment to go here on Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Your radio highlight reel.
Caught for the touchdown.
1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
An ACL tear can be a devastating injury with prolonged pain and rehabilitation. Hi, I'm Dr. George Bari. I'm a sports medicine orthopedic surgeon who grew up right here in Jacksonville and then went on to train with the world-renowned Dr. James Andrews. At Bari Orthopedics, we use the most current techniques to get you back in the field with less pain and quicker rehabilitation. We treat all types of sports injuries with the newest techniques available. Please call us for consultation or visit BariOrthopedics.com.
Find out more at BariOrthopedics.com. That's BAHRI Orthopedics.com.
At Hodges Mazda, they're proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. Lauren Brooks here as your hometown Mazda dealer. Their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional, non-commissioned sales team put your best interests first without exception, and all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online at hodgesmazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
Helmets and heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Pick it here for About 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of About 9. Visit About 9 Associates today and experience the difference. About 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
There's a lot on the line in a divorce. Your home, savings, maybe even your kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions it can take, you need a partner you can count on. I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. Don't let divorce take more than it has to.
Offices in Jacksonville. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Rick Julius, licensed in Pennsylvania only. Online at cordellcordell.com.
Hey, this is David with Royal Pest Services. The fact that we've been bundled up the past month gave us an idea. Let's bundle up also with our Centricon and Pest Control bundle, starting at $349. Visit RoyalPestServices.com for your free inspection.
It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we want it, we got to bring it.
My thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Youth sports at the YMCA's focus on teamwork, discipline, and building confidence. Our experienced coaches can create a positive and supportive environment where your kids can grow, stay active, and develop a love for sports. Sports like basketball, volleyball, swimming, gymnastics, and even elite skills training. Join the fun and register. Give your kids a chance to be a part of something special. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
Craft beers, food trucks, live music, and more beer at the Riverside Craft Beer Festival this Sunday afternoon at Riverside Arts Market. Get your tickets at riversidecraftbeerfestival.com. Proceeds benefit Community Peace Care and the Rotary Foundation.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror? Fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Hacker here, thinking I did something spectacular, dropping 123 pounds. But then Steve pops in and dropped a whopping 150 pounds with Awaken 180 weight loss.
I got started because I was sick and tired of just being sick and tired all the time. Wanted more from life, and I knew that at my size, I wasn't being who I could be, who I want to be for not only myself, but for my wife. And I was like, something has got to change, and it's got to start soon. I mean, the program is so easy. Everything is really written down for you on your first day. Having someone there to help you and also keep you accountable, just having that someone to talk to, and even the fact that Awaken 180 offers free maintenance for life is amazing, because keeping the weight off is a lifetime commitment.
A lifetime commitment is what you'll receive with Awaken 180. 25 pounds like Dempsey, 40 pounds like Matt Hayes, or maybe it's over 100 pounds like Steve and me. Awaken 180 will get you there online at awaken180weightloss.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
As Lauren already alluded to, folks, we're a little over 24 hours away from the River City Rumble Part 2. The home team, JU Dolphins, won the first meeting earlier this month, but
UNF won the first meeting.
Oh, UNF
at JU.
Okay, it's Wednesday.
It's okay.
Yeah,
that's why it's going to be fascinating to see JU coming off of the loss last night. Can they turn things around and win at UNF Arena, or does UNF sweep JU? Obviously, most people know they're both very familiar with each other, but there's extra juice in both gymnasiums when that team, the crosstown rival, comes to play.
Yeah, I think my brain is just a lot of
fried.
It's fried right now. There's a lot of things going on.
Do you know what day it is? Do you know
Wednesday? It's hump day. That's why.
Yeah. Was that the 20-point game, by the way? Wasn't it?
The one that you're talking about was when JU was playing host to Florida Gulf Coast and was up by 24 and then ended up losing.
That one I do know was on a Wednesday because I called that game. So that one I do know.
Yes, that was
I do
also
know.
Wednesday.
I
went
do know
to
who
that
they played.
one, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's part 2 at UNF Arena.
And so, given the nature of both teams already being into the field for the ASUN tournament, but also the meeting between these two crosstown rivals, I did want to just note the ASUN standings as they currently stand. JU is in a 3-way tie for third as of this writing. North Alabama alone at the top with a 12-3 mark in conference play. Eastern Kentucky, Lipscomb both 11-4. Then Florida Gulf Coast, JU, and Queens all in that 3-way tie. Austin P, North Florida behind them with a 7-8 mark in conference play. So yes, a whole heck of a lot on the line for both teams, but especially the Ospreys.
Yeah, that game, that earlier one, part 1, UNF won 81-78. It was really close.
Because they almost, UNF then almost like returned the favor, and they had like a 20-point lead at half. And
yes,
if not for some missed shots down the stretch by JU probably comes back to a race of 20 points.
I remembered something like that.
Yeah, college basketball is fascinating. I feel like other than what we're seeing out of Florida, honestly, right now, it feels like every other team you can lose any other night, any given night, basically.
And I literally said that this morning to Graham Marsh, who was at the game. Like, I was like, the fact that, and I know Frank Frangie tweeted it as well, like the fact that like they win by 20 plus again, and we're just like, oh, okay,
ho-hum.
Whatever.
Yeah,
that's literally Florida. Like,
well, I had a feeling that's how it would be because Oklahoma's not a very good basketball team. They had started off the season, like you said yesterday, playing well, but if you look at their box scores as of late, like this is not a team right now. It's going to be hard for anyone in the country to contend with what Florida's doing, but let alone a team that's not nearly as good. Yeah, and Oklahoma's undersized, so you knew Florida was going to play, have an advantage there, but also be able to match up well with their guards.
And by the way, our thanks again to Stuart Mandel of The Athletic for joining us. Thank you to Taylor for setting that interview up. But since he brought it up, an expanded NCAA tournament field for both the men and the women. I hate it as well.
What are they trying to? How many
to go from 68 to 76?
So it would be adding 8 more, but it would expand the first 4.
Because it's really 64. But we have those play-ins, the first 4.
Yeah. And it's as he said, like no one. It's harmless. The people of Dayton love it. Like that is something they own. I'm happy for the people of Dayton. Maybe they don't have much.
Well, he said in this situation, all the conferences are fine with it.
Yes, all the commissioners are fine with it because they all want more teams in. Yeah. But when he says conferences, it's more money. And this is why I bring it up, because it's not going to be like, let's say Drake, right, who's been a great story in college basketball this year. The
team, not the rapper.
Yes,
I was about to say he has not had a good year so far.
What is it, Northwest Missouri, where Ben was? I forget where it was. Like their coach transfers in from Division II program. He brings his entire starting 5. These guys were all playing D2 basketball last year. They do not look the part per se, and they have basically just picked up right where, they left off in winning a national title at the Division II level, except at Division I. And
he came from Northwest Missouri State. Do you know where he was born?
It was in Iowa somewhere, wasn't it? Yeah.
Iowa City.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, and that's why
that's how you know.
A lot of people think that he's going to be the next head coach at the University of Iowa if Fran McCaffrey and the school is to part ways. Anyways, I don't bring it up for that reason. I bring it up to say Drake lost to Bradley over the weekend. If Drake doesn't win Arch Madness, the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament, there's a chance that they don't get an at-large bid. In this expanded 76-team field, common casual observers may be like, oh, well, now Drake can get in because they're on the bubble right now. They won't. A team like Oklahoma, who, yes, won the battle for Atlantis 3 months ago in November, but plays in the SEC despite having a 3-10 conference mark. They're also on the bubble, and that's who's going to get in over Drake. And that's why I agree with Stewart. It's unfortunate because, to your point, Lauren, like, look, no one can stop Florida right now, but especially a team like Oklahoma that peaked a little bit too early with some pieces they brought in both through traditional recruiting through high school and the transfer portal. And, you know, I said it to Graham. I'm like, Porter Moser, like, and Carl Ravitch, great Ithaca College bomber, by the way, was like him and Jimmy Dykes are like trying to like decipher. They're like, Porter's trying. He's trying to throw this rotation. He's trying to throw this at them. And they just had no answers last night. And so, but that's
Oklahoma has a player with the last name of Elvis.
Yeah.
Oh. And Carl Ravitch did. Elvis is in the building with that foul. I was like, I know that it's a lopsided game. I know.
We're very
just trying to pull at things at this
We're
point.
very punny up
I was
in
looking
Central
for like
New York.
an Elvis in the crowd, and I understood the players also was Elvis, but I still was like, oh, maybe there really
somebody
is
dressed up too, kind of like, oh, it's Elvis playing. And
correct. But then I was like, no, he just played off the name.
Point
'cause
is,
he's
though,
bored.
that team that like Lauren was just illustrating that like is a fringe bubble team. They play in the best conference, but are they really like the team you want to see in that first four? No, you'd rather see Drake. You'd rather see more Cinderellas get their shot.
Yeah, I'm a huge, obviously, SEC proponent when it comes to football, basketball, baseball, softball, gymnastics, right? Like swimming and diving, tennis, like whatever the SEC competes in, usually the SEC is pretty good across the board. But I hate the idea that the SEC and Big Ten get to basically stronghold the other conferences, the two other conferences and then the group of five, into what they want. That's not what college football is about. College football is about, and it's not usually David versus Goliath.
Right.
Those teams in college football, the Davids of the world, are not going to win. We know that. It's not a D3 versus
now,
a D1.
Boise State was the third seed in the college football playoff.
Which that's why they want to redo the top four seeds. But to me, Boise State is not a David. I'm talking about more of like a North Dakota State or something like that. That's not what college football is about. College football is about a team, as much as I didn't necessarily want Indiana in the college football playoff, it's about a team like that only loses one game getting their chance in the tournament. Like, I didn't love it because I thought South Carolina was a more exciting team, and I thought they would do better in the college football playoff than Indiana did. But Indiana fought and clawed their way to be able to have a seat at the table. And that's probably a bad example because that's a Big Ten team. Let's use Arizona State.
Yeah.
Arizona State, a Big 12 team. They absolutely obviously deserve to be in, but even if they didn't win their conference championship, they deserve to be in. But Big 12 is only going to get 2 spots. The ACC is only going to get 2 spots. What if we have a resurgence of Florida State, Miami, and Clemson all at the same time? They're all 3 good at the same time.
Won't matter.
That the SEC and Big Ten shouldn't have more power just because they have more money.
Yeah, it's interesting to me anyways, because if which they have been, obviously the conferences we talk about the most and a lot of success sports wide, but you are that. So why do you have to feel like you need to force feed yourself into scenarios where you're like,
money.
and I know. It's all about money. Everything is about money in this world. But you're also almost eliminating or at least putting the back burner 75% of college football. The SEC and Big Ten are only 25% of college football. So you're pushing everybody else out of the side in a world of that's why college football is the way it is. And we're already losing with all the transfers and stuff. We've talked about the loyalty to that school in general and playing for the team and all of that type of stuff. We're already losing some of that. And now you're just completely shoving away 75% of college football because you feel like you're better and should be privileged to have the best of everything.
And you're saying that, if your 2 conferences are all that great, if there's 6 at-large bids, you should be filling up those 6 spots anyways, outside of the fact that you're
deserving.
Outside of the fact that you're competing with each other, right? And so that's where I think the Big Ten is trying to have guardrails to ensure they get multiple teams in, as opposed to the SEC maybe taking all 6 of those spots, hypothetically, let's say. And moreover, to your point, Taylor, what did we say earlier about when I was talking about Michaela Blakes, and she's a great women's basketball player at Vanderbilt, and the idea that Matt Hayes has preached on these airwaves for over a year now with NIL. You don't have to go to Georgia if you're an elite college football player because, A, you'll get paid somewhere else, perhaps even more, and B, because you can win and you have a chance to make it to the dance there. Well, if the SEC is going to be guaranteed X amount of spots, you have a greater chance of making it to the tournament as opposed to if you were to go to a team in the Big 12 or the ACC.
The massive issue is the SEC and Big 10 have threatened the other conferences, the Big 12 and the ACC, and then the Group of Five, and said, well, we will just form our own version of college football. We will unite with ESPN and have the college football playoff and have all the money, and you can figure out your D2 version, basically your FCS version of football, because we don't have to work with you. We can literally form our own college football entity. And so would you rather have a portion of our earnings, or would you rather have your own lesser division of football? And that's the gigantic problem, is that that's where we are now, because the SEC was able to add Texas and Oklahoma. The Big Ten was obviously able to add 4 different schools. They span the entire country. The SEC is getting close to expanding, certainly a large portion of the country. So they have the ability to separate, and they believe that they would still have all the same college football money, and they'd still have the same fandom and the viewers and all the things that drive the money. And so the Big 12, the ACC, and the Group of Five have to, as we sit here now, unless ESPN pushes back and say, well, we'd rather have at least a portion of this and still all be together so that our teams can win the national championship and still be considered a true national champion.
Yeah, and that's what, when we talk about, it almost feels like it would be turning into a scripted thing, and that's when this comes into where they're turning college football, because money matters so much to them, they're taking away some of the product, I feel like. And that sucks for college football fans, because when you are watching, number one, you do like the Cinderella stories every now and then, when you want to see new faces every now and then, and especially if you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, you want to see some of these other schools get the chance. And then that's what a lot of people were talking about this year with, like, okay, you add Texas's first year in the SEC, they're the last SEC team standing. So if you can, yes, they brought them to the SEC, but that means that these schools can still be competitive outside of it, because this program was pretty well built already. And so I think that, to me, it makes it feel like it's going to be like a no, not trying, because I know we have a lot of WWE and wrestling fans, but it almost like what the outcome's going to be, because they're force feeding you. Here's pretty much what the 8 of the 14 are going to be, these teams, and you'll know that,
which was
by
the
November.
whole issue with the 4
beginning.
teams.
Yes,
and that's what Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports was kind of the first to start reporting on this, and certainly Stuart Mandel as well. That's what has been written at this point, is that the love of college football, the purity of it, we've already lost that with transfer portal and NIL. But now you're force feeding things that fans don't want. They want a level playing field because they love the NFL. Like, and not all college football fans are the NFL fans, but I guarantee you every college football fan would tell you the NFL gets it right. They have the wild card, so if you don't win your division, you at least can still get in based off of your record. They look at head-to-head and things like that, but that's because there's parity in the NFL. Every team has the salary cap, so there's parity in as far as you can spend as much as the other teams. If you suck, that's on you. It's because you haven't drafted well or gotten players out of the free agency well. But the NFL gets it right, and college football hasn't gotten to that point yet.
We deserve to see Cam Scattaboo play in the college football playoff. We deserve to see those players that we're not seeing on a national basis every single week.
And they would have made it in because they won their
that's just the quick, but that's not a year ago. Well, yeah, because they won. But when we're talking about some of the other years where there's so many players, and I think this helps in that sense too, for the NFL fans. More NFL fans are going to watch college football if they know they're watching this large variety of players that their teams may be drafting in 3 months. So it trickles in so many ways, but it doesn't help with the money, and that's where all this is boiling down to.
And that's why Matt also will say the NFL needs to start contributing to college football, because look at how much money the NFL has, and they're not giving anything to college football, and college football is the feeder system for the NFL.
Before we get ready to say hello to Matt and the boys of XL Primetime, I do want to hit, not necessarily a that per se. I know RJ's going to get one of the boys from Primetime, but a little bit of pseudo breaking news. We know why you're all here. You want some updates on the Jaguars general manager search, which is of course ongoing. The Jaguars did tweet out the picture of Tony Baselli and Josh Williams, the director of scouting or personnel with the 49ers, who was the first candidate to interview officially today. According to Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports, Ian Cunningham is set to be the second interview of this finalist second round of interviews for the Jaguars this afternoon. He says, in part in his column today, my sense all along has been that this is Ian Cunningham's job to lose. The Bears assistant GM, a two-time finalist for the Titans role, has won Super Bowls with Baltimore and Philly. One league source described Cunningham as having, quote, exactly the type of temperament and scouting background teams want these days. How does that fit with the Khan family? I think both Tony and Shad believe he's the guy. He interviewed well virtually, and the expectation is he will do the same in person on Wednesday.
Good stuff. Yeah, Josh Williams titled Director/Scouting and Football Operations for the 49ers. He was the one that has already been completed. And then, like Mia said, Ian Cunningham will come in and meet with the Jaguars brass today. Let's say hello to Matt.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
Matt, what's fascinating about all this college football stuff is, and you know this, really it all started a year ago. It's just a lot of us weren't paying attention to the fact that the SEC and Big Ten had larger seats at the table last year.
It started probably about 15 months ago when they agreed on the second playoff contract that will start in 26. And it was that point where they went from you had to have unanimous agreement among all the FBS conferences, right? To now it's just you don't need a unanimous. And basically they've written in there that the SEC and the Big Ten are, there's language in there that says they're leading the ship. Let's just put it that way.
Because they threatened to break away, right? That's the crux of all of it.
Well, that's not in the contract that they threatened to break away. But when they were talking in those rooms, yes,
that's the verbal conversation that's going
so
on.
So who is voting on that decision for it to not be unanimous? The Big Ten and the SEC.
No, I mean, right. It's funny. Look, Greg Sankey was a guy who was probably 4 or 5 years ago where he was like, it was during the COVID season where he was saying, look, we'll just have an SEC championship. We don't need anybody else.
Yep.
He started it then. And then eventually Texas and Oklahoma came in the fold, and then eventually the Big Ten, tried to get Notre Dame and USC, and Notre Dame said, go scratch. So then they ended up getting USC and UCLA. And then the Big Ten just waited out the Pac-12 till it imploded, and then got what it needed. So for travel partners for USC and UCLA. So this really started long before the last 15 months. They all knew that this was eventually going to happen. And they all mean the other 8 FBS conferences. And they've all complained about, I think the funniest part of all about it, though, is very quiet in all these discussions is Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Not saying a word.
It's just like, we're hanging out.
because they're not pushing to a conference.
Right.
And they get a great deal as shown by this past season when not only are they going to get the estimated $65 million from their NBC deal, they're going to get $20 million, another $20 million for getting as far as they did in the playoff, which will put them at $85 million, which is more than any team in FBS earned.
Yeah. Until the Big Ten and the SEC are like, Notre Dame, you have to make the playoff, you have to join a conference.
Oh, and also join ours because we give you a better odds than the ACC.
But they'll never do it. They'll never give them an ultimatum like that.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah. That makes Taylor happy. Matt, what's coming up today? More of that?
More of that, and more Jags, and we're getting into all football.
We had your buddy.
We might even talk some Gator basketball, by the way.
As well, you should.
What did they win by, like 40 last night or something?
It wasn't quite that much, but it was a good victory. 30-something, I think, was the final score.
What has happened to Oklahoma?
We had your friend Stuart Mandel on at 1 o'clock, by the way, to break things down in case you missed that. He was great, as usual.
Oklahoma, to answer your question, Porter Moser, remember Loyola Chicago? He was like on the hot seat entering the year. They started out, they were one of the four last undefeated teams, and then I think kind of like clock struck midnight.
I mean, he's been there
won by
2
22.
years, 3 years?
No, this is his third or fourth year. Yeah.
Wow.
We joked. The COVID year makes us all like lose 1 year in our perception of time. It's why Tiger Woods got a COVID year, and so therefore he is eligible to play in the Players' Championship technically this upcoming year.
So now the players is giving out COVID years now.
Yes,
like college football.
Yes.
So he's going to be like a super senior then.
Yeah, he's a fifth-year senior if he chooses to play in the Players.
I'm honestly surprised like the NFL didn't try to pull something like that. Like we didn't actually have a normal COVID season, so your contracts actually don't count that year.
Right.
The NFL will do whatever is going to make them more money.
Yeah,
That would probably
that's what I'm
hurt
saying.
them. All right, Matt, we'll be listening. Thanks so
All
much.
right, thank you, ladies.
There he goes, and that's going to do it for us. For Taylor Dahl, for me, O'Brien, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. By the way, we will be live tomorrow at First Florida Credit Union on Roosevelt Boulevard, so come hang out with us there. And I didn't have time to mention this, but congrats to Bishop Kenny, the girls soccer team. Great season. Unfortunately, lost last night 4-1 in the 4A state semifinals, but certainly wanted to mention that they had a really good season, just came up a little bit short. Ponte Vedra takes on North Fort Myers today at 4 o'clock, and then tomorrow Bartram Trail and Sun Lake go at it again in the state semifinals. All right, that is it for us. Helmets and Heels will return tomorrow. These heels are made for talking. Enjoy XL Primetime. That comes up next.